Creating consistent AI characters is now easier than ever. I've just upgraded my free consistent character workflows based on your feedback, making them easier to install and adding so many new cool features. I'm calling this one the Consistent Character Creator. And here's how it works. You use Flux or SDXL to generate a new character, or you can use an image of an existing character, whether it's real or AI generated. Just drag and drop that in, click generate, and the workflow will automatically create high-resolution views of your character from every direction, generate different emotions that you can easily customize using sliders, and put your character in different lighting conditions and environments that you can change with a simple prompt. And here's the best part. The new workflow will now automatically assemble all these images into 2 character sheets in different formats, so you can quickly share your characters or keep track of your iterations. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use this workflow, walk you through the installation step by step, and share some advanced tips and tricks. And by the end, you'll know how to train your own AI model of your character to create endless consistent AI characters for your AI movies, comics, or social media. This workflow combines several powerful AI tools and models to create this character sheet. At its heart is a tool called Multi-View Adapter, which uses SDXL to generate consistent 3D views of your character based on an input image. We are also incorporating AI upscaling for higher quality results, Florence 2 for automatic prompt generation, advanced live portrait to create different expressions, and IC Light to place your characters in different lighting environments. And I've combined and connected all these models inside of a free tool called ComfyUI, and it's a node-based interface for Stable Diffusion and other AI models. I'll show you how to set everything up step by step at the end of this video. However, this is a very advanced workflow, so I highly recommend you familiarize yourself with the tool before diving into this workflow. The workflow comes in 3 versions: Flux, SDXL, and SDXL Lite, which is suitable for lower VRAM environments. I recommend you start with the SDXL version of the workflow, as it allows you to create a wide variety of styles, and it's also a very good balance between speed and quality. So once you have everything set up, you can just drag and drop the workflow file into the ComfyUI interface, and it will load up the workflow. I know this looked like a lot, and it kind of is, but most of the stuff is going to happen automatically. So let's say we already have an image of a character that we want to use. We can go up here, and this will allow us to deactivate or activate different parts of the workflow. We can deactivate this first group here because we don't need to generate a character, we already have one, and then we can give our character a name. So now we can skip this group here and go to this second group here and just upload a character here. I recommend using an image like this, a character with a neutral expression in a T-pose in front of a simple background, but any kind of pose will work and it doesn't have to be a T-pose. Next, just make sure that for this node here, the input is 2. Otherwise, if it's 1, it would try to load in the character that you generate here, but we have a character, so let's switch that to 2. And now we can pretty much just click Q prompt and wait for the whole thing to finish, and I'm just going to grab a new coffee. And now that it's done, let me quickly walk you through all the steps so you know exactly what happens and where you can change stuff if you want. So let's first zoom in on that first group here. In this group, you pretty much only need to load in the image of your character, or if you want to generate a new character using this workflow, you need to put this node here to 1. Otherwise, it will just take a look at this image here and create a prompt, and automatically generate these different views for your character based on this prompt and this image. Make sure that you are using these correct pipelines. So you want to use the under adapter name, it should be this one, and under pipeline name, it should be this one. The next thing that this part will do, it will extract the face of your character and put it in front of a gray background. And as you can see, the quality is not that great. And even though the poses up here look pretty good, the quality is also not that great. So this is what this next group here is for. First, on the left here, a prompt will be automatically created for your character. If you want to add some additional information, you can do that down here in this character description box. This will then get fed into this upscaling setup. I'm combining a tile control net with a typical sampler setup here, and you can play around with the denoise value in the scheduler here. Higher values allow the AI to change your image more, and lower values will keep it closer to the original. The same happens for tile. So for example, if you set that higher, the original image will influence your image more and keep it more consistent, but it will also not allow the AI to add additional detail and create that quality that we want. So we need to find a balance here, but these values usually work pretty well. And you can see that up here, you can compare the input image and the generated image. That worked really well. But the eye color changed a little bit. So in this case, I would go back to the box down here and add like brown eyes. Next to that, the same things pretty much happens, but for the body poses. So here I'm using a tile control net. I also give you the option to use a candy control net, but the tile one usually works really well. And I'm loading in an additional IP adapter that will help keep the generated image closer to the original input image. Again, you can play around with the strength in the control net and the denoising strength up here. The values worked pretty well. Like for example, here it started to fix the face and the hands a little bit, but it's not perfect yet. So I would try maybe to increase the denoise value up here to give it some more freedom. But honestly, this is pretty much enough because this is only the first step. Because next to that here, we have the second upscaling group. This first part here will upscale the image to a value that you specify here. So I'm doubling the size, and using the denoise value again, you can decide how much the AI is allowed to change the image. So this one usually works really well as a starting point. And you can see the quality increased a lot, but the faces still look kind of weird. And that's what this second part is for here. This face detail will look only at the faces and just add some additional detail. And again, you can play around with the denoise strength here. Once that's done, all the individual pose images will be saved out. And now we can select which image we want to use to continue in this workflow. It's said that we want to use the frontal face image here. You can see this is image number 1 and this is selected up here. But we could also select maybe the full body pose by changing this. This is image number 2 to 2 up here. And you can see it will then add the different emotions to the full body poses. And it will also then add your full body view of your character into these different lighting environments. But now, right now, I want to set it to 1 to use the high quality frontal image of the face here. You can see in this group, the emotions for your character will be created. And you can super easily change them by just playing around with the sliders. So for example, let's make her wink here and maybe raise the eyebrows. And yeah, beautiful. Next to that, we have the lighting group. And the way this one works is you can go up here and create some different environments that you want to put your character in. I filled in these varied example prompts here. So we have a desert, we have a club, we have sunset and like a national park. And then the character will be added on top of these backgrounds down here. And you can see this just works really, really well. And the character is absolutely consistent. If you want, you can also change the input for these faces down here. So for example, right now we have the neutral pose for all these images, but maybe you want to use all these different emotions from here. What you can do then is go down here and change this input switch to 2. Below that, you can also decide if you want to blur the background a little bit. I did that just so it looks a bit more like a real photography. Just click Q prompt again. And now we have these varied poses. Next, in this final group, you don't have to do anything since this will just create the character sheets for you. It will take all the images that we just created and put them into these 2 formats here. And yeah, this is pretty much the whole workflow. If you don't want to use an image as your input, you simply need to go to the top here, switch on character generation, and change this one here to 1. So it will select this first input. Download the free OpenPose T-pose here from my Patreon and just load that in here. So this will just create a character in a T-pose. And then you can create a prompt for your character here. So let's quickly run that. And you can see it created a cool character for us. Now we can just wait for all the following steps to finish with this character. Yeah, that looks really nice. The emotions are cool. And yeah, now we have the final character sheets for our newly generated character. Another cool thing we can do with a consistent character creator is change the style of an input image. So let's say I want to create a children's book for my son here in the Pixar style. Just kidding, I don't have a son, I found this image on Pexels. But maybe you have a son and you want to create a children's book featuring him as the main protagonist. So what you could do is download a LORA for a specific style, for example on Civit AI, and load it in here. Or what I will do is I will go to this group here and change the style from photography to Pixar 3D animation. So something like this. It created these different views from all the angles and extracted the face again. And now it upscaled the image and created a slightly more Pixar style. But I want to make the style stronger. So what I can do is just reduce the strength of the tile control net, maybe to like 30, and just run this again. And you can see he comes out looking more like a Pixar character. For the body, I also reduced the control net strength, and now it's done. And you can see it just worked really, really well. But you can also change the style before using this workflow. You can basically input any style that you like. For example, I could load in this character right here, sort of already like a Disney style. Click Q prompt and it will create this character sheet for me. You don't even need to input an image of a character. You can also just input like a product or something. And the workflow will generate a character sheet for milk with like different perspectives of the milk. Of course, it will not add any emotions since there is no face in there, but it all works. If you want to get the maximum quality out of these workflows, consider supporting me on Patreon. I created advanced versions for all the workflows that have additional upscaling setups. All the different emotions will be upscaled as well as the lighting setups. And you can really see how much amazing detail you get in these images. As an additional thank you, you also get access to my amazing AI Discord community, as well as additional example files and LoRa's that I created while making this video. So now let's continue with my free version of the Flux version of this workflow. You can see the Flux version pretty much looks exactly the same because it's structured in the exact same way. But in the beginning here, you need to make sure that you have a Flux checkpoint loaded. And you can download that via the ComfyUI model manager if you want. And the second thing you need to change is you need the InstantX control net for Flux. And you can also install that via the ComfyUI manager. That's pretty much all the things you need to change. Of course, the sampler settings and everything are different, but I already changed them for you. That means you can just import an image and click Q prompt and it will just work. This will be a lot slower than the SDXL version. But in my experience, Flux is a lot better with like human anatomy and it will fix the body parts way better than, for example, the SDXL version. With the Flux version, we also don't have a functioning IP adapter, so I removed that part, and that means you cannot go as high with the denoising. However, in my experience, it works really well at like 25%, and this will keep the character consistent and still fix a lot of the things. Now, for a lot of you, the Flux version will probably be too slow. In this case, I recommend using the SDXL version. It's also just my favorite version. I use it all the time. Now, in some cases, that might also not work for you because that multi-view adapter part here is pretty VRAM intensive. In this case, you can use the low VRAM versions of all the workflows. You see they have the same structure. But with a key difference. The multi-view adapter part is missing because this one requires at least 12 GB of VRAM. But I still want you to be able to use the workflow. So the way it works is you import your character image right here as you would with the other versions of the workflows. But then you go to this link here. And this is the free demo of multi-view adapter that you can use without even creating an account. You import your character image right here. Then you can create a simple prompt. I'll just do a woman standing with her arms outstretched and click run. Now this takes around 40 seconds and it removes the background and creates all these different views for you. Next, you need to download them all, create a new empty folder and put all these images inside of there. Copy the path to this folder, go back to your workflow and paste in the path here. When you now click Q prompt, it will load in these images and just finish the character sheets for you. Now that you know how to use this workflow, you can use all the images that it creates to train a LoRa for that specific character. A LoRa is basically a way to give an AI model more context for a specific object, style, or character. To show you how this works, I created this Pixar style character using this input image right here and these other character sheets that it created. So now I create my dataset by just selecting the best images. I definitely want images from the side and from the back. This one looks great as well. So these are the images that I selected. And these are more than enough to train a LoRa. You can use a variety of online services that allow you to train your LoRa, and you just have to pay a small fee for that, but you can also do it locally. And for this, again, I'm using Flux Gym. The easiest way to install Flux Gym is via Pinocchio. Pinocchio is this sort of AI browser that just lets you install different AI tools with one click. Just go to the Discover page and click Install. And now we have to follow these 3 steps. First, we need to give our character a name. I call her Pixelina. And now we need a trigger word for our LoRa, so when we put that into the prompt, it will generate that character. And that trigger word should be something unique, so not a concept that could already be in the dataset. So I'm going to use the trigger word Pixelina, but with a 1. Next, you can select how much VRAM you have. I have 24, so I will choose that, but you can go as low as 12. Below that, you should probably use one of these online services. Next, I'm just going to drag and drop in my dataset. And now we have to caption these images so that Flux knows what's depicted in these images. And this will just give us more flexibility when we work with this character. And do you remember how I used Florence 2 in my consistent character workflow to create the captions and prompts for the workflow? We can do the same thing here with Florence 2. So I just click that and it will automatically add captions to all these images. Florence 2 just did a pretty good job of captioning these images, but I would like to be even more precise. So what I would like to do is I would like to name the framing of her. So this, for example, is a close-up. And I also want to name her emotions and the view angle. And I also want to make sure Flux knows the pose that is depicted. So I'm going to add T-pose and standing with arms outstretched. Okay, so these are my final captions. And now I can just click Start Training. When you first run this, it will probably take a long time because it's downloading the full Flux Dev model, but you only need to do that the first time. After that, it will just immediately start training. Once the training is completed, you can go into your Pinocchio folder, go to API, Flux Gym, open Outputs, and there you will find all your models. This is for Pixelina, and you can see that it saves our different versions during the training. But the final one, the one that we want, is this one right here. So I just copy that, and then I go into my ComfyUI folder, Models, LoRa's, and I created an extra folder for Flux Gym LoRa's, so I'm just going to throw that in there. And then you need to refresh or restart ComfyUI. And then I just load in my standard Flux image generation workflow. We're loading in our Flux Dev checkpoint here. And then we need to load in our LoRa here. So maybe a prompt like this. Make sure to drop in the keyword that you created here. And you can already see it's following our prompt perfectly here. I also added the option to add additional detail using these detail daemon sampler settings here. So what you could do is reduce this multiply sigma factor for some increased detail, or change the detail amount here. And once you found an image that you like, you can use this setup to the right here to upscale it to a value defined here. You could also use this image generation workflow with your trained LoRa to create an even better and more varied data set for the next iteration of the LoRa. So now that you know how to use this workflow and what you can do with it, let me show you the full installation process. To help you follow along, I created this free guide here. So let's start by downloading ComfyUI. Go to the ComfyUI page, scroll down and click Direct Link to Download. This will then download the ComfyUI folder. Once that's done, you can put that folder anywhere you like and extract it. This extracted folder is now your ComfyUI directory. Next, we need to install Git. Just go to the website and install the standalone version by following the standard installation steps. Next, we need to download the ComfyUI manager. So just go to this page, scroll down to installation and right-click on this link, save link as, and go to your newly created ComfyUI directory and save it in here. Once it's downloaded, double-click it to run it, and it will install the ComfyUI manager. Once it's done, you can start ComfyUI by clicking Run NVIDIA GPU. To use my workflows, just drag and drop the workflow JSON file into the ComfyUI interface. Now you can see it loads up the workflow, but there are still a lot of red missing custom nodes. To install them, you just need to go to Manager, Install Missing Custom Nodes, select all of them and click Install. I had the issue that with the newest version of ComfyUI, some of the custom nodes weren't installing properly. This will probably be fixed in the future, but for now you have to use this workaround here. You can find it in my free guide. When you scroll down to the bottom here, you can see that there is an issue with Hugging Face Hub. And all you need to do is go to your ComfyUI directory, go to the address bar and type in cmd to open this command window. And then you just need to copy this command right here, paste it in there, hit enter. This will install the newest version of Hugging Face Hub. Then restart ComfyUI. And once you restart it, it should look like this with all the nodes here. Now, before I use this workflow, let's get rid of these noodles here and create these straight lines. For this, you just need to go to the settings, go to light graph and switch the link render mode to straight. Just looks a bit cleaner that way. But if you want, you can also go to the bottom corner here and toggle link visibility so you don't see these links at all, and it will look even cleaner that way. Finally, we need to install some models. And you can find all the models that you need to download right here to the left of the workflow. So you can see directly next to the corresponding node where to get that model and where you need to put that in your ComfyUI folder structure. I'm using the SDXL version of this workflow, so I need an SDXL model, and I'm using Juggernaut XL, but you can also use any other SDXL model. Just be aware that you might need to adapt the sampler settings. So I recommend starting with this one. Just right-click on this download button here, save link as, and then go to your ComfyUI folder, ComfyUI, models, and this one should go into checkpoints. Next, we need the ControlNet, and I'm using the ControlNet Union SDXL, and you can install that via the manager. Just go to Manager, Model Manager, and search for Union. And then you should download and install this one right here, the Pro Max one. Next, we need an upscale model, and I used this one right here, Clear Reality, and you can use this link here to get it. Just click download this one right here and put it into your ComfyUI folder, ComfyUI models, upscale models, and put it in here. Next, we need an SD 1.5 checkpoint, and we need that for the relighting process for IC Light. And it's not really important which one we use, so I recommend just downloading Photon. Just right click on the download link, save link as, and also put that into your checkpoints folder. Next, we need this IC Light model here. Go to Manager, Model Manager, and you can search for FBC, and this is the one that we need. Next, we need this B-Box model down here, and we can also get that via the Manager, Model Manager, search for B-Box, and download this one at the top. For the SDXL version, we also need to download the models for the IP adapter. And you can also do that in the manager. Just go to Model Manager, search for IP adapter, and you can download all the ones that have this description here. Now, you don't need all of them right now, but it's good to have them for future workflows. Next, we need the clip models for the IP adapter. So just go to clip, scroll down until you see this here, clip vision model needed for IP adapter. And so you need to download these ones right here. And you also need to install these models here. So once that's done, you can click R to refresh ComfyUI or restart. Now, for the newest version of ComfyUI, you might get an error like this. For this, you just need to go to the ComfyUI folder, type in cmd, open the command window again, and paste in this command that you can also find in the guide. I hope you enjoyed this video and this workflow is useful for you. If you'd like to support my work and gain access to the advanced versions and exclusive example files like all the data sets, character sheets, LORAs and prompts I used and created for this video, consider supporting me on Patreon. Your support makes this channel possible, so thank you very much and see you next time.